welcome to another episode of Conversations with Matthew and Sarah. How are you doing, my love?
I am doing good. It's been a while since we've been on here.
It has been a while since we've been on here. I think you guys will notice from the title of the podcast, Mr. Nave and Mrs. Pujols, that we are indeed still Mr. Nave and Mrs. Pujols. If you guys remember from the last podcast episode, we had talked about how we were preparing for our wedding, and it was a few weeks away and everything was crazy. Well, we were supposed to be married on the 2nd of March, and it is the 8th of March, and we are not married. So indeed, I have remained and will remain as Miss Pujols. I think right now, talking to you guys, it sounds a lot easier than it was in the moment. There was some unfortunate circumstances that made it so that we couldn't get married. And I think I want to pass the baton on to Matthew at this point.
Well, yes. There was some things that happened. Let's say, not my finest moments. Don't get me wrong. There was no cheating or anything, but we're going to go into detail.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There was no cheating.
I'm just saying. I want to tell them that now before they start throwing their tomatoes at me. But yeah, y'all know how these podcasts go. Sarah over here is an open book, and I'm more of. Do you remember Harry Potter, where the book of monsters tried to eat everybody that tried to open it?
I don't remember that part, but it does sound interesting.
Yeah, it was like they Hagrid made them get this book of monsters, and it was actually a monster. The book was, and you had to like pet its spine to get it to open, but if not, it'd be like, and it would try to bite them and be throwing pages.
So
everywhere.
Are you the book?
I'm the book of monsters.
Okay.
I'm the book of monsters. It's hard to pry me open, but I want to talk about things because as we sat down. And the past week we had, me and Sarah both, we are followers of Christ, and we want to show our shortcomings and our sins. We want to put them out there to help other people, not to brag on them, not to say, oh, look what we did, or look how good we are, or look what we're doing, but we really want to help people because just my backstory, I was raised in church, been in church my whole life, got saved when I was 14. So I've always said, most of the stuff that I've done wrong has been since I received Christ as my Savior. So I don't have that not today Saul of Paul story like some people have. I was always kind of a good kid. I got saved at 14. I felt God calling me, and I felt like that I had to answer, and I did. I asked Him into my heart, but I wasn't a bad kid before. And most of the stuff that I have, actually, the sins that I've committed and the stuff that I've done wrong has been since I've got saved. But anyway, reason I say all that is we want to show people that, no, it's not okay to sin. God's not okay with that. God hates sin. Says that in the Bible. But we are human and things do happen. And so we just want to be able to talk about it. So maybe to help other people as we struggle in this life. You agree with that?
I do agree with that. I also want to say that, no, don't worry about it. It's okay. Again, this is an organic experience. And in addition, for me, when I think about the purpose of the podcast, yes, I do. Hopefully, somebody will get something out of this, of course. It's also a healing process for myself, right? Whenever I get on the podcast and we start talking, there are things that'll come up that I probably wouldn't think about when we're just talking one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And so kind of allowing that organic conversation, that flow, seeing how God works, and just kind of letting the Holy Spirit lead us wherever we should go. So yes, I absolutely want to help people. Also think that it's a very cathartic healing process for us as well. And the reason why I was passing you the baton is because I was hoping that you would get into the reason why we're not married, because I thought it would be more appropriate for you to say it. However, if you would like me to say it, that's fine too. It's up to you.
No, I can say it. I was just just trying to talk, just building up to it, big climactic thing here. But no, the real reason we're not married is I lied to Sarah. I told her that I was divorced, and I am not. Don't get me wrong, I want to be divorced, and I've told Sarah that numerous times, but the state has hoops to jump through, and I have to jump through them all, as they say. Sarah said a good thing this morning about, if they tell you to paint the moon red, you paint the moon red. So I'm trying to turn in all their forms, but I am still married to my ex-wife. We've been separated 3 years now, plus, but the process has been long and hard. And then when I moved, I had to start the process back over for living in the state for 6 months. And so I'm further along now, keep getting further along. Going to do a thing called a default divorce. And we're trialing that now, but that is the reason. But the reason everybody fixate on is, why is your ex-wife not signing the papers and everything? And that's not the big issue here. The issue here is I lied to Sarah. I let her think that I was divorced. We were on our way to getting married, and a lot of that stems from my need to be in control. I always liken myself to a control freak. I know everybody throws that around. I'm a control freak. But I am. It is hard for me to let people in. I don't want to control things in the fact I'm like a dictator, like a Hitler or anything like that. I don't know if we can say Hitler on podcast, but I just did.
He is a historical figure.
But people like to throw that word around, and I'm not saying I like to control people, make them do things. But the way I like to be in control is I don't let anybody else. I try to fix everything. I've always been that way. I try to and after this came to light last Thursday. I did some soul searching, been doing some soul searching, still doing some soul searching on why is the reason that I feel like I have to fix everything. Is it because I don't trust people? I don't trust myself? I even come down to, do I not trust God with my life, and different things like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about this episode. I didn't want to brush over what I'd done because what I did was horrendous. And I did lie to Sarah, but through God's grace, she has forgiven me, and she's still here with me, side by side.
Well, forgive is a strong word.
Oh, you ain't forgive me
yet? The reason why I'm reluctant to say that is because I think we all have a concept of forgiveness that... I think there's a general concept of forgiveness where it's like, okay, I've forgiven you and now everything is like fine, right? Yeah. But the thing with me is that, as I've explained in previous episodes, when I forgive, I go through whatever process I need to forgive, and then by the time I reach a point of total forgiveness, I've also reached the point of forgetting about it, which essentially means that I don't have amnesia. I know what happened, but it no longer impacts me. It's no longer something that triggers any type of emotion within me. It's no longer something that's a thorn in my side. I can talk about it freely and it doesn't evoke any type of emotion. And so that's why I'm reluctant to say that I've completely forgiven, because I don't feel like I'm out of the woods yet. But what I will say is that I made a decision to stick by Matthew based on who he's been historically before this tremendous blunder came to light. Because that's another thing. I didn't want to be someone that was like, oh, I just love him so much, and just kind of be blinded by some sort of love that enables toxicity or bad behavior. I didn't want to be in that predicament either. My mom and I have been living with Matthew for the last, 5 months?
Yeah, 5 months.
And so we've seen how he has been with us. We've seen how he's treated me, how helpful he's been to my mom, how he continues to be supportive, very much so, of the both of us. How he has slept on the couch the entire time and will continue to sleep on the couch. Because I still don't believe in premarital sex, and I'm not going to get married to somebody ceremoniously that is legally married to somebody else. I'm just not going to play that game, because I feel like this is just my feeling, and I know not everyone is going to agree, but to me, if it's not able to be done ceremoniously and also legally, it just feels like a mockery to God in my eyes. The last thing I wanted to do is go to the church, go through the whole process, and then have to wait for it to be done legally. So then, like, what's the expectation? So we did it in front of a church, and we did it before God and our family. So now we're going to have sex because that's right. But yet you're still legally bound to someone else. That to me just seems like pure fraud, and I just wasn't going to participate in it. But to really paint the picture to you guys of how exactly I even found out. So on the 27th of February, we went to Georgia. And mind you, this entire time, I just want you to like really process this. And I think this is something I haven't had a chance to tell you. I think what I'm about to say is going to be hard for a lot of people to listen to. But I also want it to be a testament to how good Matthew has been historically, that those good deeds were able to still keep me around despite this huge blunder. So with that being said, on February 27th, we went to Georgia. And mind you, by the time we got to Georgia, I already had my wedding dress. I had my shoes. My mom had all her stuff ready. Matthew had his suit, and everything was ready. We had the church ready. Like, we already had a plan for what was going to happen on Saturday. We were going to pick up flowers. We took all of our stuff to the dry cleaners. And the plan was on March 1st, on that Friday in the morning, we were going to get a marriage license. Well, on February 29th, Thursday, right before midnight, Matthew drops this bomb on me and tells me that he is not divorced. And so, again, a few hours before we were supposed to get a marriage license. And so in my mind, like, you could just imagine, I'm obviously being much more civil now than what I was when I first found out. But it was such a bomb. I remember that my first reaction, because mind you, all the lights were off. Like, my mom and us, we shared one hotel room. So all the lights were off. Like, I was getting ready to go to sleep before he turns around and tells me this with tears in his eyes. So the first thing I wanted to do was get out of the room, because I was like, if my mother's sleeping, I don't want to wake her up. We're going to the ice room, and then, he is like wanting me to look at him, and I'm still not to the point where I'm angry and yelling or anything like that. I'm just still kind of absorbing the shock of it all. And then his initial reaction was, oh, I don't want to let her take another thing away from me. And this is where I had to turn around and be like, okay, we
Not
need
the
to
best
just
thing to say.
Yeah, we need to just. But I mean, that's how you felt in the moment.
At the moment, yeah.
In the moment, that's how you felt. And what I'm grateful for is that that's something that you've never said again. But
Yeah.
I want to really share the story.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was his initial reaction, and then my reaction to that was, okay, Matthew, you know what? The reality may be is that and I know you're saying ex-wife, but she's really your wife. Your wife may be the devil himself, but she never made you lie to me.
Nope.
The reality is that Matthew knew from the very beginning that he was not divorced. On our first date, he told me that he was divorced. And had he told me that he was not, you know what? I would have never entertained him again. I would have left the date, and I would have been like, I'm sorry, you seem nice, but I'm not going to deal with somebody that's not officially divorced, because you just can't be divorced in your heart. You got to be divorced in real life. Right? And I know that process is not an easy one. I've been divorced for 10 and a half years. I understand that divorce is not an easy thing. So, after getting out of the ice room, like, the reality of the situation is that Matthew has been very remorseful. And again, bless you, baby. And again, this has been a huge blunder. But he was incredibly remorseful. The first person we told was my mom. Then we called my cousin. My cousin was a gift from God in that moment, really giving us some wise words. And when we left to kind of talk things out by ourselves, he was able to talk to my mom and just really provide the level of harmony and peace that we needed in that moment. And so when we got in the car and we were driving off, I mean, even before we had left, I had started to get really mad in the car. I was mad, and then I started crying, and I started asking God for forgiveness because, if there was something that God had shown me that I missed, I wanted to ask for forgiveness for that. Because obviously I have issues too. It's like at the end of the day, yeah, it's true. I never thought of asking you for proof.
No.
Right. And by the way, ladies, if you're out there listening, if you're dating somebody who is saying he's divorced, let him show you the paperwork. Demand that he show you the paperwork. In particular, if you guys are getting serious, please make sure that he's showing you the paperwork. Do not take his word for it. So learn that lesson.
Trust but verify.
Yeah, exactly. Trust but verify. But yeah, really asking God for forgiveness if there was something that I missed, because obviously I think about the pride that I've had. I think about two big things that stand out for me. Number one, I was married for 3.5 years. I've been divorced for 10.5. And it took me this long to be ready for marriage. So one thing that I kind of suspected was a little funny was the fact that Matthew, for all intents and purposes, was married for 13 years. He's been separated because he's not divorced. But he's been separate. I know we've already established that, but I'm going to still talk my talk. So he's been separated for 3 years, and it just didn't square with me. There was something inside of me that was like, wait a second, look at how much time it took me after divorce to get to a point of being ready to get married again. It just seems like it's too soon. But I decided to ignore that. Another thing that was a huge red flag that I ignored was that sometime last year, he was having a conversation with his daughter, and his daughter asked, hey, are you really divorced from my mom? Now, mind you, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, they're not his biological daughters. So that's good news in terms of it not being an obstacle for the divorce, right? Yeah. So hopefully this can be done quickly. But at the end of the day, those are his daughters. And, maybe one day they'll be mine too, if this could actually happen. But anyway, so he was talking to his daughter, and she asked him, so are you really divorced? And then once they hung up the phone, I asked him, I was like, so are you really divorced? He said yes to her and said yes to me. And so that moment, I just trusted Matthew blindly. It never occurred to me to be like, wait a second, why would his daughter, why would that even be a question, whether or not he's officially divorced? So, I was very hurt. The very next day, we went to go tell his family. His mom was absolutely shocked. So was his father, and his family.
Mom asked me if I was crazy.
Yeah, because here's the thing, guys. I told his mom, I was like, because we were processing this together, and I was like, look, if my mom and I didn't live with Matthew and didn't know him, and just sat there and thought about, wait a second, you knew from the beginning you weren't divorced, and you still asked me to marry you, you saw me buy the dress, we got your suit, my mother bought him his suit for the wedding. We went through all this, you got it arranged with the church, even on that Thursday morning, before he dropped this bomb on me, we went to the mall and got a dress for his mom to wear to the wedding. So it's I'm here talking to his mom on Friday after he drops the bomb on them. And I'm saying, if I didn't know him and I'm looking at somebody that saw all these milestones be accomplished, and yet knowing that we could not get married, if I didn't know better, I would think he's a psychopath. Straight up, I would be like, you're so then a little bit later on in the conversation, his mom, who is amazing, I love her, she just kind of looked at him, and in the sweetest way, you could just imagine, Southern lady, just the sweetest lady ever. She just looked at him and was like, Matthew, do you think you could be a psychopath? And so, it was just crazy. So his family is holding him accountable. Later on that night on Friday, we went to hang out with his friends, and his friends were also holding him accountable. But I have to say, I'm very proud of Matthew, because they were having his back, as they should. They were kind of looking at all the variables, and I think they were really wanting to make sure that you weren't going to be too hard on yourself. But like I said, ever since that one moment where he initially reacted, trying to throw the blame on his wife, and I turned around and said, look, no, this is on you. He has been taking accountability ever since, and he did so in front of his friends. And so his friends have been very supportive of me as well. I think everybody knows that we do love each other. I think even one of them had said that, she was really sorry, and that she was betting that I didn't want to be there at that moment. But the truth is, it never occurred to me once to not be present whenever you were going to talk to your family, whenever you were going to talk to your friends. And then on top of that, my family, who had booked tickets from New York and New Jersey to come here, well, it was too late for them to cancel. So we ended up repurposing the trip, and they ended up coming in Friday night. We spoke to some of them on Friday night, but then we hung out all day on Saturday. And, my family met his family, and it turned out to be a really beautiful experience. But I say all that to say that, yes, I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm not in a place where, obviously you see me talking about it now, and I'm still kind of throwing shade a little bit, like
throwing
I'm still
smoke on point.
Well, you still got to learn the street
okay,
talk, babe. But yeah, I'm still kind of throwing shade your way because I'm not over it.
Yeah.
I'm not over it. And one thing that I wanted to talk, and then I'm going to pass you the baton because I've said a lot, is one of the biggest realizations that I hope Matthew has had through this experience is that the more we try to act, or in the way we would say in my neighborhood, the more we try to front to be something that we're not, the more you end up digging a hole, right? So I'll give you an example. Back in the day when I was, crazy, I've told you guys, I've told you about my diagnosis. I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I've been very functional for many years now, but there was a point in time where I wasn't stable, where I just didn't have the tools. I wasn't healed. I was just crazy. And, I went through going through a bunch of jobs and a bunch of friendships and, moving from place to place. And you could just tell that I was very unstable. But it seemed like the more I try to project a person who was stable and not crazy, the crazier and more unstable I looked. And so it wasn't until I got to a place in my life where I had to heal from all my traumas and really learn to lead with my weakness, as we say in 12-step programs, and really just open up and be transparent about these things, that I was finally able to become somebody that could function despite them and even thrive. I call myself a mental illness survivor because I've been able to thrive despite these odds stacked against me. But it wasn't a result of me trying to front or pretend that I was something that I was not. It was by being completely transparent about who I am. And then from that point forward, start to heal and start to use the tools learn how to be a stable person, learn how to be a responsible person, start to develop good habits, make good decisions, start to have good friends, start to develop a good environment. All of that started from the point of honesty and vulnerability. And so I make that point to say that, Matthew was thinking to himself, and please correct me if I'm wrong, babe. But Matthew was thinking to himself, oh, I can fix this. I can be in control. He has been in this battle to try to get this divorce for years. So it's it's going to be done before we get married, or, things will come through and no one will have to find out. And I'm just protecting her. And I had to tell him straight up the other day, and I'm so grateful that we've allowed each other the space to not only walk on the path of healing together, but to also talk to each other about how we feel, no matter how hurtful it may be, right? Because
you gotta be honest.
Yeah, because we need that in order to heal. But I told him straight up, I was like, look, with all due respect, your attempt to protect me, your attempt to fix things, your attempt to seem like you were in control failed miserably. Not only did you not protect me, you pushed me off a cliff and let me land without a parachute. You destroyed my dreams. I'm a woman, we dream about our wedding days. You destroyed that dream for me, and you did not protect me. and you did not have anything under control. And you made an absolute fool out of me, and you humiliated me. And you made a fool out of all of us. You brought all of us along for the ride. And so, I wanted him to understand that him in his will made things worse. And that's why it's so important to surrender to God and have God guide us. Have him be the one that's driving. Because when we do it, we see the results. And I don't say any of this trying to make it seem like I don't have faults of my own. Trust me, I have many, and I need to work on them. But I just wanted to kind of paint the picture. And I guess, again, this is a healing process for me too. Just really express myself, because this is going to be a part of the process that's going to get me to a point of total forgiveness, right? Where it's like one day we're going to be able, God willing. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it looks like I need to drink some water. Let me take this sip, and I'm about to pass you the baton, I promise. But God willing, one day I'm going to get to a point where I'm not going to talk about this ever again. And if we ever do, we're going to laugh about it. But right this second, I'm not there yet. And so that's why I'm reluctant to be like, oh, I forgave you.
That's true. Well, we're working through it, but there was a few things I wanted to talk about just for a learning experience on this. Is one, I started talking about it that Friday. Sin is a terrible thing. We do have to live in it. We do have to live around it. We do have to look at it. We have to walk through it. I mean, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. I mean, it's all around us. And it can latch on to us quickly. And when I was a kid, I used to think about the Bible stories a lot. And I always thought about Adam and Eve. I used to always think they were in the garden and they had perfection. They didn't have to do anything. I mean, the only job they had was name the animals, which I think would be a pretty cool job. But that's all they had to do. And they ended up eating the fruit. And I used to think of that as a kid. I would be like, why would you even entertain the thought of eating the fruit? I mean, you're in perfection. You get up every morning, you walk with God every evening, everything is just perfect. And going through this, and that was my pride talking, because going through this is like, we can analyze now looking back and say, why did they do that? But, people could look at me and say, why did you lie? I mean, my dad asked that question. Why lie? Why lie? Well, it's not like at the moment that was my end goal. It wasn't at the moment. It's just in that moment, I lied. I took one easy choice, like Eve did. She bit an apple. Eve wasn't sitting there thinking perfection or all the sin of the world.
Allegedly an apple,
or, excuse me, the fruit.
Yeah. Perfection,
or, she didn't logically think, because nobody in their right mind would. No saved person is logically going to sin. Mm-hmm. We know not to. But in the moment, we do. In a moment of weakness, or in a moment where we don't have our eyes on God. And I always like in a moment of fear. In a moment of fear, moment of self-preservation, moment of selfishness. I mean, there's so many things, but you don't logically think. It ain't like I sat there and I said, okay. I mean, it wasn't like the date. I always think Zach Morris, time out. We were on the date. You say, are you divorced? Time out. I stepped back and I'm like, okay. I tell her I'm divorced. 6 months later, we're in Georgia fixing to get married, and I say, whoops, I'm not divorced. That doesn't happen. In that moment, it was, are you divorced? Yeah. I don't even know if I logically thought about it. I don't even, but then I had to keep it up. And it just gets bigger and bigger. And I always think of David in 2 Samuel, always been one of my favorite stories, and now I know why, because I'm a lot like David there. But David, the chapter starts off with, when kings were going to battle, David tarried in Jerusalem. First thing, David wasn't where he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be out fighting. He sent other people to do his job. He stayed in Jerusalem being a little lazy. One, when we get a little lazy, we don't read the Bible. We don't pray like we should. We don't keep our focus on God. We kind of take our focus off God. I mean, just little things. It ain't like I always said, the big sin is what everybody sees, or the little bit of the Titanic sinking because they hit a little bit of the iceberg, but nobody ever sees all the stuff underneath. When did it really start? With David, When he got with Bathsheba, it started when he just wasn't out there fighting the battle. He stayed in Jerusalem. Next thing you know, he looks over and he sees Bathsheba. Then he calls her over. Finds out she's married. Still sleeps with her. Boom. Next thing you know, she's pregnant. She sends word, I'm having your baby. At any time, I don't think at the beginning of the chapter David said, I'm going to have an illegitimate child with that woman and have a man killed. I mean, I don't, but just each decision just kept taking him further and further and further. Next thing you know, he brings Uriah in. He tries to get Uriah to sleep with his wife. Uriah doesn't. He sleeps outside. So David sends the front line and tells Josiah to have, I think it's Josiah. Anyway, he tells the guy to have everybody go back. So Uriah's out there all alone, gets killed. All this, I say all that to say, and not to make an excuse, but when you start to sin, and the next thing you know, you just can't. It's like you feel like you can't stop. Yeah. Or the devil makes you feel like you can't stop.
Yeah, it's the nature of sin, yeah.
And so my moment of Nathan coming to me was Thursday night. I had a feeling like God was like, now or it's over. And I don't know if that was our relationship. I don't even know if that was my life. I don't know what that was. But I knew in that moment I had to tell you. And so I did. I had thought about telling her for a while, but, it's never the right time to fess up that you're a fraud, that you're fronting. That's always the hardest thing. So, but at that moment, I had to. But, I say all that. I'm not trying to make excuses. I did wrong. I've been trying to fess up, and I want to fess up on here. I did sin. But I just wanted to tell people, I used to look back, like I said, at those people in the Bible and be like, how could they do that? Well, it's easy. It's a lot easier than you think.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. To lie to the person you love is, I hate to say it, but it was a lot easier than it's just you don't even, boom, and the next thing you know, and then you're in this lie and you feel like you can't get out. You feel like you're suffocating, and the devil makes you feel like that.
You know what's crazy? It almost seems, since you have been trying to get this divorce for so long, and it just, she doesn't sign the papers or whatever. I don't want to make this about her. It is what it is. But it just seems like you had fooled yourself into believing that you were divorced.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because you kept calling her your ex-wife. You kept calling all this stuff, and it's just like. I
lied to myself.
Yeah, it was just like, yo, you're not divorced.
Yeah.
I mean, I can show you my paper. I got receipts.
You can.
I got receipts to prove I'm divorced.
And I think a lot of that too is, when you are separated for 3 years and you live in, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 miles away or however far it is, you just, I haven't spoken a word to her in, Lord, I couldn't tell you the last time, months, maybe even year. It's a spoken word, so you just you believe the lie. But anyway, I wanted to get back to my thing there.
Wait a second. Let me ask. So you've spoken to her on the phone this year or last year?
No, I said I can't tell you the time. It's been so long I can't even remember the time I've spoken to her.
Okay.
Like audibly, I know she's texted, but that's what I'm saying. It's been year plus since I've.
All right.
Even spoken
Sorry,
to her.
guys. You just experienced a moment of like Sarah being guarded in a way that I never have been before. Because there's certain comments that are made that I would have let go before because I just trusted him so much. But let's just keep it real. I don't trust Matthew right now. I don't. And as much as I hear like, oh, but how can you have a relationship without trust? This is a fractured relationship. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he is behaving in a way that I think is commendable, and I'm very proud of you for taking accountability and for taking the steps toward healing. And I'm very grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to air out my hurt in the way that I'm doing it. But that doesn't mean that I'm just gonna let little things little comments like my guard is up, you know, and I'm not gonna say I fully don't trust you, but it's just I'm still hurt. Like this was a very terrible thing. This was a terrible thing that happened.
But what I was meaning is it's been so long I don't even know when the last time. I mean, it's been years. Could even be plural. But we did text, and I showed you that text, or when she texted me. But anyway, to not make this about that. But what I wanted to get back to is the stories, even in the darkest moment, even in the darkest time, Thursday night, it was dark. She done said we talked to her cousin, and he was a voice from God, and his advice was remember that you're here for a reason. You love each other. Don't forget that. Even in your ugly moment, because relationships are hard. I mean, I've always heard it. Two imperfect people loving each other. So there's going to be, nothing maybe this major, but there's going to be moments of this. But those words that he said, and he told us to just drive. Just watch what we say. Remember, we're here for a reason. We love each other, and just get alone and drive and talk it out. And we did. And we drove around Chattanooga. That's where we were, where I grew up. And we were driving around Chattanooga, north, south, east, west. I don't even know what roads we took. But we ended up stopping at a gas station, and I had to pee.
By the way, guys, Chattanooga is like 20 minutes away from the place in Georgia where he grew up. Just FYI, before somebody's like, wait a second, you said you were from Georgia and Chattanooga's in Tennessee.
Well, it's right across the state line. But anyway, so we were driving, and so I had to pee, so we stopped at a gas station. And in the darkest moment, I mean, we've cried, we done all this other stuff. Sarah sees a quarter on heads, and she gets plumb excited.
I was excited.
And she hollers and stops me and says, look, a quarter on head. And she picks it up, and we talk about the quarter on heads. And I'm like, well, what is it? What's the tail side? Because, quarters today, they all have different tail sides. So we're talking about that. And it was like, and in that moment of all that darkness, it was like, there was still that love there. That love that we have for each other. That can only come from God.
Amen.
And I still have that quarter, and I hope that I have it forever. But that quarter just gave me a little bit of hope. And then the next day, we got up in the morning and we had some more tears and we talked some more. But then there was some laughter, and then throughout the day there was some laughter, and still, and I always say I don't want to put Sarah up on a pedestal because I don't want to act like I'm
because I don't deserve to be on the pedestal.
But when you've never had a helpmate, when you've never had a person that helps you, when you do have one, it's shocking a little bit. And to go through what we went through this past week, and for her to go with me to my parents' house, I mean, that was something that I ain't gonna say I should have, but could have, or would have, or I don't know. But a lot of people probably would have made the person do that alone. But she was right there beside me, and gave me strength. And then she asked me, "Am I giving you what you need?"
Yeah.
And I've never. It's like I hurt this woman deeply, but the love. And like she said, the good things that I had done and the love that I have for her, that she could feel through all of this, and the love that she had for me, I could feel through all this, and slowly it got bigger. And then Saturday, God allowed us to have one of the best days that I think I've ever had.
Amen. I will say that it was amazing.
It was just an amazing day of laughter and love and fun and pictures and just a bunch of stuff. And then Sunday was a good day, and we got to spend it with my aunt, and we drove around some more, and we ate some good dinner, and then Monday we flew back home, and then Tuesday some things happened, but just every day the thing I'm trying to ramble on here and say is this: one is when people sin, a lot of times they don't. I always think of Jesus' words: "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." I mean. Yeah. Looking back, I don't logically think that I could have even fathomed that this is where it was going.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I just took the easy way out. I did the David thing. When kings were going to battle, I stayed in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
I took the easy way, and then it just got easier to take the easy way. But
that's the deceit of the devil, right? Because and again, we're not trying to say the devil made me do it, because that's weird too. I mean, we're just kind of speaking in biblical terms. But that is the big lie of sin. It fools you into believing. It's like saying that okay, I'm gonna just eat all this fast food and not do anything, and that is the easy thing to do right now, because it is, right? But then when I'm 50, 60, 70, it's gonna turn like I'm gonna have a reflection and be like, whoa, me making those choices is actually making my life a whole lot harder now. Mm-hmm. Right? And so like these perceived quote unquote easy decisions turned out to make things a whole lot harder and cause a whole lot more pain.
Heck yeah.
You know, I mean, like my mom was telling me the other day, she was like, well, you know, I guess I was grateful that things happened the way that they did, because if he would have told you like 2 months in or something like that, then I don't know, I'm scared that you would have kicked him out. My mother loves Matthew, by the way, guys, just to be very clear. So so she was like, maybe you would have kicked him out or something. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I think if he would have told me on the first date, absolutely would have never entertained him again. But if we would have been like 2 months in, the way that we were and the way everything was going, I think I would have been mad, but we just wouldn't have like sat here and planned a whole wedding.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys,
you thought you said that first night. You was like, why did you tell me?
Yeah, like
you could have got married in May.
or yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the truth is now I don't even know when we're gonna get married. And I want to say if too, because at the end of the day, it's really on God, because I'm going to tell you something. It's going to take a lot more than an official divorce paper for me to want to get married, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not in a place where I feel comfortable. I'm not sure that I want to really take that step, even though I'll be honest, even though, you know, us living together and all this stuff, it's like, okay, well, it's already conducive to marriage, but it's like, I have issues. Like, I'm grateful that Matthew is not one of these guys that's like, oh, you know, it's okay to have sex, premarital sex or whatever. I have issues around that level of intimacy, and it was very important to me that I experienced that with my husband, that it was a covenant that was blessed by God. And so now, after this major blunder, like, not only do I feel that I don't know when we're going to get married, but it's like, I'm like, okay, God, are we just going to be comfortable living the way that we are? I mean, we could just kind of live here, you know, kind of have this relationship, the no sex, and I could do this for the rest of my life, right? But then it's like, I'm not going to really experience everything out of a relationship, everything that God mandated for a man and a woman to experience within a marriage. It's like, all right, if we could live our whole lives doing this, we could probably do that and be just fine. But the whole point was that I was going to risk, like, really, you know, getting into a part of myself that I'm really scared to give to somebody, which is very vulnerable and very personal and very intimate, that I wanted to share with my husband. I was going to risk doing that with you because I really trusted you. And now it's like, I don't even know if you're ready for marriage. Because here's the thing, guys, I don't have any doubt about Matthew's love for me. But my thing is that hurt people at the end of the day. And I can remember back in the day being somebody who wanted all these things. Oh, I wanted love. I wanted this. I wanted that. But I didn't have the capability to really get those things. I didn't have the capability to be those things. You know, it's like, I wanted a godly man, but I wasn't able to be a godly woman. You know, I wanted love, but I wasn't lovable. And so it took me having to heal and go through all whatever therapeutic mechanism that I used in order to heal, in order to really be ready, because I didn't want to be somebody that had damaged by the time I was ready for marriage. And so my thing is, like, I am not convinced by any stretch of the imagination that Matthew is ready for marriage, because as much as he may love me, I'm just not convinced that he's capable of giving me the type of, or being the type of husband that I thought he was before. You know, so like, I don't know. I like right now, it's like, okay, say he gets his divorce papers in by May or something. Say that happens. All right, well then what? You know, like, I think there's therapy that's needed. I think there's, we're going to go to a recovery program as a couple and work on some stuff, because I'm not at a place where, you know, even if we were to get married, I just don't believe that he wouldn't do something like this again. And the thing is that if he did something like this again and we're not married, I could just leave him, because this type of lie I'm not dealing with again. But if we're married, then now I'm stuck, right? Because I made a covenant before. And at the end of the day, how does that honor God? Like, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to have a ceremony that I cannot fulfill legally? And somehow, how does that honor God? Like, at the end of the day, this is not about me. I could have very easily decided to be like, you know what, let's have the ceremony to like keep up appearances. People are already flying. Everybody's already enthusiastic. I could have chosen that route, but I was like, where is God in that?
No.
Like, what? Like, I'm trying to save face for me? Just so other people could think, like, at the end of the day, no offense to y'all, but none of y'all are getting me to heaven.
So it's like, it's like I care, but at the end of the day, I don't care. Nobody's going to judge me when I die and meet my creator. My creator is. So it's like, what was I going to gain by having this show of like, oh yeah, I'm going to show y'all that I'm married. I'm going to show y'all how pretty I look in a wedding dress. When at the end of the day, it was just a fraud. It was going to all be a fraud. Like, I want to honor God. And I would rather be humiliated with Christ than keep up appearances without him. And that's what it is. It's all about Christ and screw everybody else at the end of the day. So it's like, no, I'm not convinced that Matthew may want it, but I don't know if he's really about this Jesus life. I don't know if he's really going to be in submission to Christ. I don't know. Like, I think he needs to work on his relationship with Christ first and really practice being honest. Like, you could sit there and be like, yeah, I promise not to do this again, which he hasn't done. And I wouldn't have tried to hear any of that stuff anyway. But he could say this stuff, but then still have so much bad habit ingrained in him that he does it anyway. And then it's like, I'm here paying the price for his damage. Like, I'm just not marrying somebody like that, guys. And it is what it is. It may sound however it sounds, but it is what it is. So, I don't know if we're going to get married. What I'm grateful for is that day by day, we are taking steps in the right direction. We're going to this recovery program. We're going to go to therapy soon enough. And, we're going to rebuild what's been broken. But make no mistake, it's broken.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sorry. Thank
she
you
get wound up. Y'all should have
Yeah.
seen it if we had the video on. She was slinging them arms, getting amens. But you said the right thing there. Is people get so wound up. We're going to take this day by day, and habits are going to need to be broken and new habits created, and that's only by the grace of God. I told Sarah, I said, I can't do this. God can. I mean, what I do is what just happened. As a human, that's what I do. I lie, steal, whatever else, blah, blah, blah. But, that's me. The only good thing in me is what God has put in me. And so following God, and that's the same for all of us. The minute we think we got it is the minute we don't. The minute we think we're in control is the minute we're not.
Amen.
So for a while, I thought I could control the narrative. I thought I could control stuff. And that was my first mistake, was thinking I could do it. So our focus is now on God, but and we got to keep it there, though. I mean, that is an easy thing to there's so much noise. There's so much clutter. There's so much clatter going on. One of the best things that I've done is as I've walked away from social media, that has helped some of the noise. Another thing that we've done this week is we've reevaluated some of the TV shows and things that we watch and listen to. We were watching some shows that didn't point to God. And I ain't saying, you got to burn books and run out there and start thinking throws off. But yeah, I had to look, what was keeping me from that battlefield? What was keeping me in Jerusalem? And some of that was video games. I'm not going to lie. I love video games. But then I got to looking at those like, what are they doing? Look what they helped me accomplish, which is destroying my relationship with Sarah, my relationship with God, my relationship with her family. Just thank God, though. And I will say that again. I know this has been kind of up and down. We laugh some, Sarah got a little heated there with herself. Sometimes I think she just argues with herself, and I'm like, I agree with you, but she just goes on these little tangents, and I let her. But
thank you, baby.
You're welcome. But no, all jokes aside, though, but God allowed, and that's what I want to say about all this is even in the darkest moment, even in the darkest hours, God allowed His light to shine through.
Amen.
And that beauty was there. I mean, those little moments that me and Sarah had, the moments that when we prayed or when her family and my family got together. I mean, I know y'all think, oh, two families got together, big whoop, but you would have to be there. I mean, that could have been a moment which is what Satan is trying to do, which is kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
He's trying to tear us apart. Satan from the get-go has wanted to tear me and Sarah apart. And I allowed him. I let him in, and that is sad because me as a protector of the family, the thing I was trying to protect is the thing I ended up letting Satan destroy. And so Satan wants us mad at each other. He wants us apart. He wants us alone. He wants us, in a room thinking, oh my God, nobody loves me. But the beauty of God was just shine through. And through that moment, I mean, her family could have come. I said, when she called her cousin, he could have put flames on the fire. Mm-hmm. But he spoke the words of God. And so a lot of every decision, I think Sarah said this, but pretty much every decision that has happened and every word that has been spoken since that Thursday night has been spot on.
Yeah.
Because it's been from God.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just amazing.
And I do want to say, because I have my moments, guys. Like, look up borderline personality disorder.
Well,
and for those of and those of you that know will know. But the reality is that, barring how I feel and how I'm processing the pain that I still feel, I think I have already in this episode, but I want to continue to say that I'm very proud of Matthew and how he has been handling everything. I do love him very much. And, I think that we have our sad moments and our happy moments. Yeah. And I'm just very grateful that you have reacted the way that you did, that you've continued. You're excused. But I was gonna say bless you, but that was but yeah, I'm just really grateful, because another thing that you guys don't know is that when we came back to Dallas on Monday the 4th, on the 5th, my mother went to the ER. And so my mother went to the ER. She's fine now, thank God. But, Matthew was there the entire time, and he was holding her hand, and we were there together. And my mother even said when we left the hospital, because she ended up getting out same day. So praise the Lord that she's doing fine. We think that maybe, this wasn't confirmed, but it might have been more of an emotional thing, because according to what they said, they did all types of tests and they just couldn't find anything physically wrong. So, maybe it was just something emotional. But anyway, when we were released, she even said, if I would have been dying, my dying wish would have been for you to stay with Matthew and work things out and all that. So I do want to recognize that Matthew is behaving wonderfully, and he is still being the kind, noble person that he's always been. And I'm incredibly grateful for that, and I feel tremendously blessed. And like I said, I have my moments where I feel how I feel, and I'm gonna say what I gotta say. And I'm grateful that he is willing to deal with it and kind of gives me the space to talk my talk. And yeah, I love him. It's never a situation where we get like super disrespectful. Mm-hmm. We don't call each other out of our names. We don't insult each other. Not even in my angriest moment that I do something like that. Which lets me know that I must really love him, because I've been in other situations where I have called everybody but a child of God. So
I think my mom's the only one that's called me psycho.
Yeah. But
there is a cute thing I also want to say too about this is, I don't want to be just talking about the good. We want to talk about the bad too, but we want to end it on a good note. But there was a couple of things. One is I think the world of Sarah's mama. She's the sweetest lady, and Sarah had went to the restroom, and her mom picked up her telephone.
Oh, this was when we were back in Georgia.
Yeah, we were back in Georgia. So I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and her mom picks up Sarah's telephone. And on Sarah's telephone, her background picture is a picture of me. Many years ago. Many years ago. Oh, it's such
a great picture. I love it.
I was 17 and in high school. It's my high school portrait. But anyway, that's her background. So Sarah's mom picks up the phone, and she looks at me with the biggest smile on her face and points at the phone like, you're still here.
Yeah, like I hadn't deleted his picture.
So that was a big step for her. So that was, and then the second one was that Friday night, me and Sarah was sitting there talking real low, and actually we were starting to pray. And
okay, but wait, before you say we gotta paint. Yeah, so remember, guys, he dropped the bomb on me on Thursday night, and it was like in a whisper because we were all about to sleep, right? So it was a whisper. Okay, so keep that in mind as he tells. So this was Thursday night.
So Friday night we were whispering again because we were praying, and her mom, you sell it better because I can't.
Yeah, so so Matthew and I are praying Friday night because all the lights are off, getting ready to sleep, and we start praying, and so she's hearing the whispering, and she's like, I hope he's not telling you another secret.
Oh, we busted out laughing. That was so funny.
So
But no, but you know, God is good. That's all I can say about this is God is good. This has helped me. I had a little. I ain't gonna say a little pride. I had a lot of pride. You know, I was, you know, I mean, God has brought me out of a lot of bad situations, and He's put me on some good paths, and I had some pride there. You know, and now I can. Another wise word from the uncle cousin.
So for some reason, Matthew wants to call my cousin my uncle, which is so weird to me. Like, I'm just like, can you please?
know.
He'll just get it confused in his head, it's like, that man is not my uncle, even though I think he's definitely old enough to be. But no, all jokes aside, he's only 5 years older than me.
No, he's a good one though. But anyway,
but he's not my uncle.
But he told me some great advice. He said, "Live every day like you're afraid to lose her." And so I have been trying to do that every day, and that is, you know, be honest, tell the truth, and you know, it don't mean I gotta, you know, worship the ground she walks on, even though I do.
But I mean, this is about worshiping Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is about,
you gotta keep God first.
You know, like at the end of the day, may every action that we take be something that honors Jesus Christ. Always. You know, and so that's it. Like, I'm nothing special. Like, I am only what Christ in me decides to reflect to the world. And so, you know, I'm definitely on a calling myself out tour. when we go to these support groups, I'm like calling myself out, because I like I told you guys, I think that I was prideful. I think that I was willfully blind to things that should have had me question the situation a little bit more. But I think that at this point, what I'm hoping has really sunk in from the conversations we had with my cousin and his wife is that Matthew's not alone. You know, like we're going to be a couple. We're moving. It's like what your mom said the other day, that she really believes that we're moving forward in God's will together, right? Together. And like, you know, your problem's my problem's your problem. And you know, I got your back. And like my cousin's wife, or I'll say my cousin-in-law, I guess, even though it's not like, you don't really say cousin-in-law,
just cousins.
But I mean, that's what she is though. So I guess she's my cousin, right?
Yeah, I always call it cousin.
Whatever. But she said, you know, Matthew got to give you the Carfax.
Yep, that's a good thing.
So you got to give that Carfax. It's like, I'm gonna buy the car, but you just gotta let me know what the deal is with the car, you know, and I'll deal with whatever the situation is. I just gotta know what the situation is.
And that is a good analogy. Well, I think we've done enough talking. We'll keep talking about this, and Sarah keep arguing with herself. But no, we thank y'all for listening. We know this has been long, so if you have to, take it in bite-sized chunks. But the words of wisdom that I can tell people is an old pastor, and if the Avens girls are listening to this, or if they do, it's something that your dad said a long time ago in church at New Hope North. And it was, be careful whose face you step on, because their hand may be the one picking you up the next time you fall down.
Amen.
So, you know, I'm not saying that so everybody just be like, oh, okay, you know, just forget what people done, or Sarah, just, you know, forget what I've done. But I am saying that is we're all sinners. Yep. And I did a bad thing. I did a terrible and a horrible thing. But I'm just glad that God has shown me grace through his blood of his son, and he's also shown me grace through the woman that he has chosen for me to walk side by side with. So I just want to say, just love each other. Sarah's sister said one of the most beautifulest things.
Yeah, she did.
I have ever seen or heard, and I didn't see it. Well, I saw it, but I can't speak Spanish, so Sarah had to tell me. But it was beautiful, and I'll let her say it because I misquote everything.
Yeah, so I have sisters in El Salvador who I had to inform about what was happening. And so my oldest sister, she was married to her husband for over 30 years, and he passed away last year. So she's been grieving and going through that grieving process. And I believe that as a result of that process, she told me what she said. And I think after I say this, we could probably end it, right?
Yeah, I think it's needed.
So my sister told me, look, Sarah, understand that you know, I've been married. I was married for so long. Imagine all the things that I had to go through. But understand that those things that are worth solving, go ahead and solve them. And the things that are worth changing, go ahead and change them. Because there's one thing that cannot be changed, and that is death. So, all right.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening, and we will talk soon.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.